Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kasa podcast. Today, we're going to have a very wonderful conversation on connections. With in post-pandemic world, we have to stay connected. We're finding ways to stay connected, get connected to the people we love and appreciate. And there's so many fallouts to these connections. Today, the tribe is going to share with you some of the tricks, the tools we've learned, we've picked up in trying to connect with people over social media, over all these wonderful platforms we only got to know about after the pandemic lockdown, right? All the Zoom, the Teams, and the Meets. There's some things you have to learn to be able to build and establish these relationships and grow them, right? And sustain them over a long period of time. Today, I have Nag in the building. I know whenever Nag is in the studio, everybody is excited. Mami is here, Chris is here. Guys, how are you doing?
We're good.
Nag.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Welcome back, Mami. I know a lot of people are excited to see Mami. Nag, someone told me to tell you this. They say whenever you're on the show, we don't know what is going to happen, but we know it's about to go down. That's one of the biggest compliments you would get. We don't know what is going to happen, but we know it's about to go down. Chris, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing good. How are you doing yourself?
Man, not bad. You can see as I'm wearing my Warriors shirt, it can be better, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Mommy, how you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, Mommy keeps popping in and out, but guys, I hope Mommy is going to stay on and enjoy the conversation with us. But guys, I laid down the premise for our conversation today: social media and navigating the internet space, building connections, building relationships, building friendships that are going to last a long time. I know you guys have been on these platforms and you've been able to sort of make these connections. First, I'll start by asking the obvious one. Have you guys been able to build any relationships or connections over social media over the last few years? And which platform did you use and what kinds of connections did you guys build?
Okay. Starting from me, I think Twitter is the most platform that I have a chance on. You understand me? At first, I wasn't giving much attention to Twitter, but for the past few years, I think Twitter is doing wonders. You understand? So I think a lot of people should go there. There are so many intelligent people there. And I've learned a lot from and building connection from Twitter space.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You mentioned Twitter and I was like, there's so many features on there. Which feature specifically have you used to sort of build these connections and build your networks?
Twitter spaces.
Is
the real ish. The real ish.
Easy nag. What about you, Chris? Have you used any particular platform and what feature on the platform have you been using to sort of establish these connections and grow them?
Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, almost all, and I mean Zoom sometimes. Zoom meetings or Zoom sessions. Meet people. Yeah.
I see. Mommy, is there any platform specifically you've used in the last couple of years to sort of establish connections and grow them?
Yes. Just as Chris mentioned, I've used LinkedIn, Facebook, and what's the name? Clubhouse. Yes, I've used Clubhouse to do business. And LinkedIn, I've got some nice connections there.
That's wonderful. So from the looks of things, everybody is out there growing their networks, growing their presence in this social media ecosystem. And the growth sometimes can be very interesting. right? As you go along, there are certain things you pick up, there are things you do, and over time, if you keep working on these skills, like they help you in the long run. Given all the platforms you guys have used, what are some tools that come into mind when if someone is new to these ecosystems? Like, I want to try out Twitter Spaces, I want to try out LinkedIn. What are some tools I should start working on? What are some of the things I need to be able to sort of establish these connections? Chris, what tools does one need to make connections over the social media platforms you mentioned?
I think, firstly, as an individual, you have to understand what kind of connections you want to make. Are you planning on making a professional connection, a business connection, or just casual friendship? So with having this goal in mind, you can tailor your profile, the kind of connections you want to make. You can tailor your profile to suit that goal. So I think first you have to establish what kind of connection you want to establish, a friendship, professional or business, and then you can move on from there.
Okay, that's interesting. Nag, are there any other tools you think would be helpful?
Yeah. As
for Twitter Spaces in particular, what's
the first time I chanced on Twitter Space was like, I joined people and they were sharing business idea. They were like, oh, okay, Mr. Gray posted that space. I was like, he was like, when he give you $10, 1,000 Ghana cedi, what can you use it for? You understand me? To build a business. People were sharing ideas like, oh, you can't use it, you can, oh, it's for transportation. And I chanced in and I gave them a business idea, and they were like, wow. And other people came in, and I think one guy said something. So there was one investor on who tried to help that guy, and now he's doing business with that guy. So I think he went in for Twitter Spaces to have a topic. So as my brother said, depending on how you want to build, how you want to connect, you understand me? If you want to connect, yes, there's a topic there talking about business. So you enter the room, then you just listen to the ideas, you understand? So for me, I went there for that, and it really helped.
Okay. For our viewers and the people in the live chat, let me know which social media platform you've been able to use and some of the tools you've picked up in using these platforms. I don't know if you guys consider this as a helpful tool, and I'll get to know what you guys think of it. But I feel, in my experience, in my using social media, especially Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse for some time, I realized the ability to be able to express yourself, right, is a very important tool. The confidence to go on a platform and join the conversation. A lot of people underestimate the strength, the mental fortitude it takes to get into a room where you know practically nobody and jump into the conversation, sometimes even steer the conversation, right? And it's one of those things, especially with NAG, it's one of those tools I feel you've been able to build over the years. Nag is able to stir the conversation up whenever he feels it's going the wrong way or it's becoming dull, right? And I think that's one of the tools I have noticed in my interactions with Nag. Mami, I hope when you're on your social media platforms, your internet is a lot more stable.
Yes,
Okay.
very, very stable.
What are some tools you've been using over the years? Especially you mentioned business. What are some tools you've been using to help you sort of build these business contacts and connections?
Okay. I have taken advantage to voice out. You mentioned ability to speak. Wherever I get opportunity to speak, I use that opportunity to voice out. I wasn't that courageous and confident enough, but Thanks to social media, you get the chance to confidently speak about the things you do, and just to let people know what you are doing, and you always get the necessary connection you should have.
Yeah, the ability to speak out. I think that is priceless, right? The confidence and the ability, the courage to speak out. And what other tools, guys? What other tools do you think would be necessary, Chris?
I think for social media, you have to sometimes you have to make the first step. Maybe want to connect with someone on LinkedIn. Maybe you send a connection request. You want to connect with someone on Instagram, send a person a friend request. You want to connect with someone on Twitter, you send a person a request. And after that, you start to talk about the reason why you're connecting with a person in a polite manner. And I think reaching out is also a very good way, one of the best tools to connect with people. Like, reach out, make your goal be very clear as possible. That this is why I'm reaching out, this is why I want to connect, and then you can move from there.
It's interesting you mentioned connecting with people, and I would share at least my experience, and I think it works with a lot of people because I hear a lot of people mention this. But for example, on Twitter Spaces, I think it's just the first point to make a genuine connection with people. I don't know about you guys' experience, but most often when you go on Twitter Spaces and you join the conversation, often you get a lot of people follow. Sometimes you get people reach out to you in the DMs. People try to sort of tell you what they're about, how they can sort of build these connections. But for me, until I've had someone speak on the platform, until I've actually interacted with the person, and for me, like, spaces are my safe area. Like, the DMs are too private, they're too personal, right? So let's go on the space. If we're talking business, if we're talking economics, if we're talking philosophy, let me hear your ideas in that public space. So if you come on the space and you're down in the listeners, you're not taking the mic, you're not interacting, you're not telling me what you think, it's hard for me to get back, especially in the DMs when you DM me, because sometimes you're getting berated with DMs, right? And so it's the people who stand out, the people who were part of the conversation, that you tend to respond to. Has that been your experience too? Nag, do you think when people come on the space and are vocal and are expressing themselves, you reply to their DMs quickly?
Yeah. And there was some people feel shy to take the mic. They are their listener, but trust me, they are soaking the message. Yeah? They are soaking the message that we put across, and especially when you are talking about business and those things. I remember one lady came on space and we gave him a mic. She was not picking, and she reached me on my DM and were like, she feels shy. And I said, don't worry, you take the mic. She took the mic, and I started entertaining her, and now I think she likes Twitter Spaces more than me. You understand me? So yeah, that's what I can say about it.
That's interesting. Mommy, what is your experience? Do you respond when people have given you that safety of interacting in the public forum? Does that help?
Yes, I do. DMs are quite private, and so yes, on all the network space I go, I try to follow back or connect to people I hear from. It's very difficult for me to not know who you are, and then you just want us to connect. I'm not sure why we are connecting in the first place. And so when I hear you speak, it's easy for me to connect because Chris mentioned something. There is a reason for which you are connecting with someone. And so once I've heard you speak, if you want us to connect, I know why I'm connecting with you. I'm connecting with you because of business. I'm connecting with you because of school. I'm connecting with you because of something. And so yes, it's same for me. I can't just connect with you on DM for conversation's sake. No.
It's
And I have had that experience. Yeah. Even I have experienced it myself. At some point, I had to put myself out there, and I was connected to something. And so, yeah.
That's interesting, and I think you sharing that experience sort of is going to be helpful for a lot of people listening, right?
Yeah.
Where if you want to go out there and connect, you have to put yourself on the block. You have to be willing to go out there, and I think it's one of the tools you need in business in general. If you want your business to succeed, and thinking of yourself, your internet, your social media presence, your social media personality as a brand, as a product, you have to be willing to put the product out. And so another tool I think would help people survive in this ecosystem, in building contacts and connections and growing your connections, is thinking of yourself as a brand and promoting the brand. And so tying yourself to the right things, the things you want to be associated with. Nag mentioned something. He said, these Twitter spaces have titles. There are some spaces just because of the title I wouldn't associate my brand with. A lot of people have this notion that social media is just social media. Twitter is just Twitter. It's not real. But the truth is, it's real if you're using it to grow, establish, and grow your contacts, your connections. If I see you in a particular kind of space, I know the way you would, the things you appreciate and the way you think. And if you're consistently in spaces that are talking about, say, education, growth, promoting businesses, sharing business ideas, you're in the space and expressing yourself. Your ideas don't have to be right, but you have to be able to express them, because they say the worst question is the one you didn't ask. Asking questions, finding help. That way, not only are you increasing your knowledge bank, you're promoting the brand. I know that a lot of people who are watching the show who are familiar with Nag. This young man comes into a space, and like I said at the beginning of the show, you don't know what is going to happen, but you know you're going to have some fun. People see him as someone who can lift you up when you're not feeling your best. You can have one discussion with Nag on social media, irrespective of the topic, and you leave the conversation feeling entertained, feeling happy, right? Sometimes, and I tell him this a lot, I go into spaces just because I see Nag. I just want to go find out what he's doing. So his brand is synonymous to entertainment. It's synonymous to sort of, he would tell you this a lot. After a hard day's work, sometimes you just want to go on spaces and just listen to Nag. And that value that he brings is the reason why he draws a lot of people to it. So if you're going to survive this internet ecosystem and build a brand and build a reputation, the spaces you associate yourself with, the forums, the platforms you associate yourself with, and the brand you give to yourself. To build good contacts, you have to have a brand. You should be known for something.
Yeah.
What other things do you guys think people need?
Yeah, could you? Do you? I forgot to ask something. The lady that I was talking about now, I think last year he made a book, and she was promoting the book on Twitter Space. A lot of people from South Africa, Zimbabwe, everybody was buying. You understand me? Whenever she created a Twitter Space, we enter, we share the link, and now she's doing well. You understand me? Guys, go and check out for Stacey Amawu.
Okay. Stacey. Yeah, I think I have met Stacey. Chris, you are going to add something.
Yeah, to add up to what Nag said, putting yourself out there, marketing, promoting yourself. Social media is just like real life. You don't have to isolate yourself. You definitely need people to get to where you want to get to. So business-wise, professional-wise, even just friendship. Sometimes you can meet someone on social media platform, and the person will give you a life-changing information. I'm all about giving out life-changing information. Yeah, that's you meet people and they share. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just something small you were missing out in your professional career, business career, or whatever, personal life, and then it changes. So I mean, putting yourself out there, and if you're interested in something, get yourself into that conversation. So if she was saying earlier, if you are into some kind of business and there's a business piece and you know this is an opportunity to put yourself out there, join and then advertise yourself, advertise your business, and then we can move on from there.
That is wonderful. If you're interested in something, join the conversation. That's probably one of the highlights of today's conversation. Delali is in the comment section asking where everyone is. Dela, go and ask your friends or go and bring your friends. And talking about Delali, he's also one person I met on Twitter Spaces, right? We've now built a connection. We're working on projects together. And I can go on for days, especially on Twitter Spaces, about the people I've met and how they've helped improve me as a person and improve my business and everything. And I'm going to share one, and it's actually the podcast you're listening to right now. Kasa podcast started. Chris and I and a couple of friends started this on a very low scale. We're just trying to, do something, do our podcast, go our merry way. Then I went on Nag Spaces and I was interviewed by Nag the very first day I got there, and he's asking me about, what I do, how I survived whenever I relocated and all of that. It was lovely. But there was a young man in there called Prime. And Prime just took a liking to me. We just would get into conversations. And one day he asked me, so what do you do? I told him what I did. And I told him I have this side project, which is my podcast. And this was like when I first started off, like 5-6 episodes in. And Prime started listening to other episodes. Every week he would ask me, hey, what are you guys talking about today? And he'd give me feedback on what he listened to. And from there, he helped me grow the podcast. He is the person who came up with the live streaming idea. He was on the podcast a few weeks ago talking about business and all that. He just connecting with him on social media, took the podcast from wherever we wanted it to go to wherever we are now, and he keeps pushing us. That there were weeks I didn't want to do anything. I'm tired, I don't have any content. And Prime is like, listen, you have a market out there, you have a following out there, you have to go to work. And so sometimes he was the one who was dragging me out of bed to come make the podcast. And the growth of the podcast, especially on Twitter, has been based on these connections I built with people over social media. I've never met Prime in person, but we have built these connections. We've grown these contacts to the point where he's influencing my podcast in very wonderful ways. He's promoting. There was one time, without my knowledge, he had a whole promotion on Twitter where he was giving away Black Star tickets, Ghana Black Star tickets, for subscriptions to the podcast. So you subscribe, then he gives you a ticket. And within a week, we grew the subscription from like 200 to 300 in 7 days. He almost multiplied my following by 0.5, right? And these are some of the things you can get on there. I talked about Delali. Very soon we'll be having the Kasa merch out, and Delali is the man working on the entire project. He's working on the t-shirts, the hoodies, the baseball caps, and everything. And I met Delali on Twitter Spaces. We talked business on Twitter Spaces, and now we're in business together. We're working on projects. So if you like something, join the conversation. Talk to the right people, find these people and sort of interact with them. And most often, it goes a very long way to help. Delali just commented, I really admire Prime and Vibe. Yeah, Prime is an amazing man. He's really helped out the podcast a lot. Anything else you guys want to talk about establishing the business? We're going to look at other parts of the conversation, but what other things do people need to help them establish their presence and establish these connections?
I think aside the marketing as well, you can do all the right marketing and all that. But I think attitude also counts. Well, I don't think, for me, I don't believe being rude has paid anyone off. Be just be nice. Be nice to people. Not necessarily because you will need their help later. Just be nice to everyone. Yeah, people say, or people keep in mind that, oh, how will this person help me? Do I need to be nice to the person? Now it doesn't matter. You don't need to be nice because you will need a favor from the person, or just be nice to everyone. Yeah,
that is wonderful, and it's a big key to surviving the ecosystem. The way you interact with people, being nice, being known to have a great personality. Listen, it's funny, but on these platforms, especially when you keep meeting the same group of people over a long period of time, you would form an image, you'd build a reputation, and you really would care what this reputation is. If you're known to be a rude, arrogant person, normally it doesn't pay. You're not able to build lasting relations, right? If you're known to be a nice person, there are times you'd have a bad day, there are times you'd have an off moment, but because you've built a reputation of honoring people, of being respectful to people, of being mindful of the things you say, sometimes people are able to give you a pass, right? And so Amanda is joining the conversation as I agree with Chris. Attitude counts. Attitude is everything. What you're known for, how you're known for, the temperament you're known to carry. It's very key in sort of growing these connections and making meaningful connections with people. Nag, what other two do people need aside a good attitude, the confidence to actually join the conversation? What else do they need?
Like for me, for instance, for example, I build my audience with a vibe. You understand me? You enter, I will just put any topic there. When you come, like we will talk, create fun, like we will laugh. You understand me? No one will take everything serious. So I might not have K followers, but the followers that I have is organic. You understand me? Like organic, tight relationship. After getting them as a family, you know, we build ourselves as a family. You understand me? We protect each other anytime, like a friend needs or something. You understand? We protect each other, and then we move. You understand? So building a reputation, and after getting the people, you have to create a family, like a family, a strong family. You understand? Whenever one needs or one need your help or something, not help as in money, but guys, can you retweet this for me to go viral? Can you do this for me? Can you do this? When you see any talented people, we support and we retweet the works, and it go viral. You understand? Yeah,
I think you did make a great point, and I see you do this a lot. You're not only, and that's the beautiful thing, knowing you personally and knowing you on these platforms. When I hear you talk about these things, I'm like, he knows what he's talking about. When it comes to building these kinds of relationships, I think you're one of the people who has done it and done it so well. You started with Nag Spaces, and on Nag Spaces, I found a family, right? I found my crowd. I found my group of people. And like you said, it's not help us in helping people with money or anything, but helping grow their stuff, helping grow their brand. And you did say it so right. It's not about the number of followers. It's not having 50K, 60K, but having organic followers you can depend on. Like, for example, with the Kasa podcast, the Twitter account, it might not have all the numbers, but the people we know are going to interact with the material. They're going to actually care about the content we put out. And it's very important because you might have 20K followers who don't care about any of the things you're doing. And so growing organically, especially for a business, is a very important thing.
Yeah.
Kiala B is in the comment section and said, "Oh, I like the join the conversation advice, but I'll say join conversations with willingness to learn and to grow." That's key. Joining the conversation is a great thing, but you must be willing to learn and to grow. And to add to that, yeah, it's a great advice. Another thing is learn to be accommodating, because that's the beauty of these internet platforms. Back in the day where we actually met people in person, normally you be from the same locale. Very often you guys have a lot of things in common, but on the internet space, there are people from far and wide, right? You'd have people from absolutely different cultures, completely new places with different experiences. And if you're not very accommodating, very tolerant of views, you might run into a lot of problems. Amanda says another thing is not having an opinion about everything. It is very annoying. Yeah, people create a brand about having an opinion about everything. Amanda is saying if you really want to establish contacts and sort of grow them, you shouldn't have an opinion about everything. You shouldn't be a know-it-all. It doesn't really help in terms of creating that brand you want to market to people. Delali is saying organic followers is key. Yes, it's very key, and especially on Twitter, I've seen people get in trouble and have their accounts taken just because they wanted to grow their brands, but they didn't want to grow them organically, right? They wanted to use, shortcuts to sort of grow in their brand and their presence on there. And so I don't know, I normally encourage people to do things organically. But now that we're talking about the don'ts, because Amanda sort of hinted at that, to talk about some of the tools people need and some of the ways people should approach the internet. What are some of the don'ts? What are some of the things that we have seen not to work well? What are some things that we can tell people, well, if you really want to be successful in building connections and contacts on the internet, these are not things you should do. Amanda laid one out there. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't have an opinion about everything. What other things do we think would be good advice and things to stay away from? I'd start with Mommy. Mommy, what are some of the things people should avoid doing?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the know-it-all attitude, because some people seem to want to share their opinion about everything, even if they are ignorant about it. They just want to be heard, and so they end up saying things that doesn't sit down with a lot of people, and they lose contact. And one thing I also think we should not do, like, we shouldn't be too defensive when we receive feedback. Feedback is key when we want to do business. And so when people give feedback on products we buy and we are all defensive, no, what I gave you is good. What I gave you is good. I have received what you gave me, but it's not what I ordered for. And so you don't have to be defensive. Okay, you need to understand the client, and so don't always be so protective for criticisms as well. Yeah, so that's one thing I think people should take.
Chris, what do you also think?
Yeah,
what are some things?
Yeah, I side with her, and taking it from there. I also say, if you are building business contacts or professional contacts, make sure you are putting out what is right about you or what is true about you. You don't be putting out false information. Maybe you have not, in terms of professional connection, you do not have this qualification, or you have not attended the school, you don't have this course certificates. You don't have to be putting out false information out there. It's better to put the what is true about you, and you say, I'm trying to learn this. I'm trying to learn from you, or I'm trying to learn about this. That is, far better than putting out false information.
Yeah, I think for those of us who have been in the space for a long time, it's one of those things that comes to bite a lot of people.
Yes,
creating false personalities online. Again, it goes back to the mindset that people think it's not real. I can go on there and do whatever and say whatever I want. And so if it's, they join business platforms, they talk a big game, they talk about all these things they don't know, they can't do, and all in the name of bringing connections, building these connections. But the funny thing is, when you build these connections on falsehoods, there's going to be a time you're going to be called to account for these things. There's going to be a time you're going to be called to demonstrate these things.
Let me just add this story. This is a very true story, and I don't know if any of you saw it on Facebook. So there's this gentleman who promotes himself on Facebook as a motivational speaker. When you check his profile and his followings, he's doing so well. And then just I think last month or 2 months ago, graduation season, he posted all thanks. He graduated from school with first class, and he's thankful to everyone who helped him throughout the journey. And there was this comments. There were a lot of comments under his post. Congratulations. This lady came on and commented. He said, "I know you. We've sat in class all 4 years. You didn't get first class. Why are you trying to lie to the people you say you're a motivational speaker to?" And then instantly he had to delete the post. And I think he did. I don't know. I think he deleted his account or so.
Oh my goodness.
You see, and from there, you have lost all that you
built.
So the growth over the years, building your brand.
Oh, that's gone.
Just a single lie, it's down to the ground. So I mean, no matter what you have, no matter what you are going through, someone have gone through worse than you. So just put out the right information, or don't put out the info. No one cares whether you graduated with first class, upper, lower, pass. No one cares about that. Build your brand. Definitely, you are getting followers because you are doing the right thing.
There's something right.
You are impacting people. So you coming to post whether you graduated with first class does not change anything. That is it. So,
and
putting out
to add to that, that is the sad part. Sometimes, right, people lose so much in a day for something that was completely not worth it. So you've built a brand, you've built an online personality, you've built a personality you're selling to the world. Sometimes keeping your mouth shut would help you maintain that. If you're going to speak, like Chris was saying, you have to be mindful of the things you say. It would be very unfair to you and all the effort and the hard work you've put in to build something for 4 years and lose it all for some meaningless lie. Like, honestly, if he had just said I graduated, it would probably not have cost him everything. Why go on the extra layer of first class? What does that actually do? Sometimes people lose so much for things that can be avoided, and it's not just lying and all that. It's just being mindful. I think for me, especially after Twitter Spaces and growing the following and all that, now I'm very mindful even about the things I tweet. Not that it's wrong or anything, but I'm like, people wouldn't expect me to do that, right? Sometimes you hold yourself to higher standards, and so you verify what you're going to say. Sometimes I'm writing something and I cross-check the spelling, I cross-check the information before you put it out there. I think it would be great if you truly want to build a solid brand. Be mindful of the information you're putting out and don't tell useless lies. Absolutely. Avoid those. It will cost you way more than the lie would bring you. Nag, what other things should people avoid?
They should avoid like as my brother said, too much information. You understand? Yes, too much information. And body shaming. People used to comment body shaming, and they shame ladies, they shame men. You understand me? So like there are some comments that's not good. You understand me? I don't like reading those things, like reading people post, and sometimes I might not say I'll be saint. Like if I read something and I couldn't control myself, maybe I might say something that will, generate another something. You understand? So me being not have fun in reading posts and those things, I think it has prevented me a lot, you understand me, for not doing that. Maybe if I'm type of person who is curious to know what news is trending and those stuffs, I might enter into trouble. So I always avoid I know myself, so I always avoid myself to enter into that stuff. You understand me?
I think you do mention a very important thing, and I think for people who are trying to grow connections, contacts, trolling and internet bullying, cyberbullying are things you should really avoid. It's just a terrible look. I don't think as a person you want to be associated with these negative things online. Nag mentioned one, body shaming. People would make fun of people, say mean things, and for a short period, negativity sells. You might get the retweets, you might get the likes, the hashtag, whatever. But over a long period of time, it goes to destroy your brand. It goes to destroy whatever you stand for. So if you make a name, if you gain followers by going on the internet, being abusive, being very hateful, spewing all the most out there stuff, yeah, you get the following. But tomorrow, if you come and tell me, hey, I've written a book, I would like for people to buy it, and nobody's going to buy it because you're the guy who trolls people online. You're the guy who bullies people online. You're not the author. You're not the business person. Exactly. So you destroy. A lot of people think it's the fastest way to grow, and they point to certain YouTube personalities and especially on YouTube, where they're like, oh, they started this way, but now they've transformed, they've rebranded themselves. I'm like, well, those were the early days. Now it's difficult to rebrand or transform yourself. So just don't get to the top by biting on people, like basically destroying people to get to the top. And then when I get to the top, I'll rebrand myself, reinvent myself. I think it's not a good way to sort of build yourself on social media. And the comments are coming in. Ikea Labi said, customer service can happen online too. Be polite. It doesn't need to only be in person. There are people who would be wonderful, lovely people in person, but she's saying, listen, your customers are online too. You have to be polite. You have to be kind. Mami was saying the customer is always right. It's not only an in-person principle. It's also online. If I buy something from you online and the product is defective, you really should be able to, accommodate the feedback from your consumers, from the people who are buying your product. Example case, Anna Delvey. I'm not very familiar with the case, but if anybody is watching and is familiar with the case, hey, you see, that's an example. IKEA is saying avoid inconsistencies. That's another thing, and that's why I think I side with Chris or Nag was saying don't put out too much. Yeah, Nag was saying TMI, because the more you put out, the more you're in a hurry to just tweet, post. Very soon, those things would create certain things that when you start telling other things, it will be inconsistent. Oh, I finished uni with a first class. Oh, I did this. Then you later come on and go fund me to pay for my semester fees. Oh, I thought you finished. Why are these two posts very inconsistent, right? Sometimes people forget that pouring too much information out there is giving people data. And once they collect enough data, once you start and everything is compared to that data set, right? And so TMI, especially if you want to grow on social media, you should be mindful of the information you're putting out. You make sure you're cross-checking, double-checking the information, and make sure you stay consistent. Avoid inconsistencies. That's another advice. What other things should people avoid, especially in building professional and business connections online?
Yeah, and Kujo, there's this thing like knowing yourself. Me, for instance, everybody knows me. That my organic followers knows me that I'm not good in speaking good English. So even if I tweet something and the spelling is wrong, they'll say, hey, one of those things. You understand me? So like they know me who I am. So they appreciate me who I am. So it's not a news. You understand me? And anytime we are on Twitter space and I speak English and they laugh at me, it's not other news. You understand me? They laugh because they are in, because they want to hear me speaking my bad English. You understand me? So they appreciate who I am. You understand me? And there's one thing that we have to notice: if somebody comment bad thing on your post, you know, Twitter is very complicated. You understand me? Maybe your customer or your the person that you used to serve, it maybe I'm the business owner, and I've posted something, somebody talked something bad about my product, like the person haven't purchased it before, but she's commenting bad thing on it, and I got irritated, like I got angry, and I posted something offensive. You understand? Maybe the person that I'm serving, my customers over there might know, you know, Twitter is very complicated. They will not see his post, but rather see my
yours.
post.
Exactly.
You understand me?
Exactly.
And I'll
lose customers. Absolutely. I think what you're describing is the classic he started it conversation. You know, sometimes you're in school and the teacher is writing on the board. He doesn't see when Kwame comes and slaps you in the back, but he turns around and you're just chasing Kwame down with a ruler, trying to kill Kwame. Basically, that's what a lot of people see online, especially if I'm following you. I might not see whatever someone said, but I can see again the offensive statement you posted, and for that reason I completely agree with Nag. As a brand, as a business, the timeline is not where you air your dirty laundry or you go ham at people. I have had so many times I've gone on Twitter to complain about a product, and the first thing the accounts would do is to come into your DM and be like, hey, can you tell us what happened? For example, I go to Panda Express to get food. The food is bad. I tweet about it. This is terrible. Panda doesn't come online and start exchanging words with me on the timeline, because there are people they serve. There are people who might not even know about Panda. And once they see them come at a customer, you know, yelling profanity at people online, you're losing customers. Going into the DMs, and I feel as a brand, as a business, the DMs are going to be one of your best ways. Someone tweets something about your product, like you've gone on there, you've marketed yourself, you've gotten a customer, they buy your product, they say, hey, this is bad. Your response is to go into the DM and be like, how can I help you? What can I do to make it better, right? Person can tell you about whatever the experience was in the DM, and then you can offer whatever help you can. Going on the timeline and saying, hey, my product is good, you are the one who did it, it doesn't help. And you might lose customers or potential customers, right? And so we should be very mindful of how we interact with our clients and the people we're working with online. It's very, very important. Ifya Yeboah, who decided not to show up to work today, has commented, hello, my people. Heart emoji. Ifya Yeboah, you should show up to work.
Hi, yeah.
I hope you're enjoying your break. You're coming back to work next week. Nag, you're getting a lot of comments in the comment section. Nag near the Lali.
I wanted to say something. Can I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I wanted to comment about people handling business accounts. Sometimes you also realize that people use business accounts and then they'll be jumping in conversations using that account to share their personal opinions. Okay. And I think when you do so, it runs down your business because remember, your opinion is different from your business's
opinion.
But they will be using the business name and they jump into every conversation and they want to comment about personal sentiment, everything personal. They want to use their personal account to do so. And so if you could run a business account and a personal account, it will be good for you. So you can use your personal account to comment or interact on personal issues. And again, when it comes to response online, look, sometimes you can just send a DM or comment on someone's post requesting for information, and it might take days before you get feedback. There is so much competition online. Now, if you check online, everybody is selling hair. Everybody is doing wigs. Everybody is selling wigs. Now, a typical example, I go out there, order for a product. The product comes, it's not what I want. I send the person DM, the feedback wasn't good. I send again, the feedback wasn't good. So I decide to post or comment on a post. Now the lady comes back. In fact, he was ignoring my DM.
Yeah.
Then when I commented on her post, she jumps into my DM and tell me that I'm destroying her business by commenting on her post. And so, yes, I mean, when it comes to response, we need to also be careful about a lot of people running business online are not tolerant at all. They are not tolerant. Like, they won't take anything from a client. And so we need to work on that as well. Yeah, so that's my take on that.
I think it's been an interesting conversation. I wanted to, we wanted to sort of dive into the different. We were looking at the business first. We'd have gone to friendships and probably online relationships, but it looks like we're going to run out of time. We can't dive into everything, so we're going to chop into a bit of the second bit. Sometimes we go online to build contacts that are not professional. They're not business. You go online, you have a very wonderful conversation with someone, and you want to get to know them as friends. You want to build friendships with people. The rules are slightly different from the business kind of relationships, right? Or the professional relationships. What are some of the do's if you're just out there strictly to have friends, to build contact that are not, I'm not trying to sell them a product, I'm not trying to buy anything from them, but I think they're smart, they're wonderful people, I want to. What are some of the rules we would follow in that case? Chris, normal friendship, normal levels.
Yeah, I think social media have come to replace, let's say, those days, I mean, normal in-person living. Because, those days you have neighborhood friends, hangouts, you talk about stuff, you share ideas. Now, I mean, social media has come to replace that. So when it comes to friendship on social media, you can't just jump in. That, for example, when there's a Twitter space and everyone is like, there are people on that space. Definitely, or most times, people in the space are kind of a family, or they are friends, or they are people who know each other. When there is a conversation about something, you don't have to just jump in and then draw your own conclusions or do. First, you have to listen, and then normally to get into a group, you have to find a point of contact. So, like like you were saying earlier about NAG, you met NAG, and then you were able, NAG also introduced you to other people. And it became a big family. I mean, that's how it goes. Sometimes you want to meet, let's say, you want to be a friend of someone in a high position. You realize that on NAG space, that person is always there. The best way, I think, is to, get in contact with NAG, because NAG is someone you can easily get into contact with. And then through constant connection, checking up on the person, eventually you can meet the person you ultimately want. And this is not just only, friendship can manifest to the business and also the professional. So, no matter what, the true friendship, even though the rules are not exactly like the business or professional, we can borrow some aspects of that into the true friendship aspect. Yeah,
absolutely, something I agree. I think it's still business. It's just that your product is friendship. That's what you're selling, right? And so the rules are kind of similar. You play basically the same thing. If you truly want to be friends with NAG, you're not going to be lying to him and telling him all these things you're not, right? And so just like the business angle, just as you would approach people politely, I think even in building genuine friendships, if you used most of the advice from the business side of things, it works. I think one of the things I would probably add to that is, on the friendship scale level, you should be a little more loose. You should be a little more less strict with your rules. For example, I would not use my business account to go into certain spaces. Like, there's no way you're going to find my professional account in some spaces. But if I enjoy hanging out with Nag and I see Nag doing a shoot your shot space, I'm just gonna chill. It's just one of those laid back. I'll take my personal account, go sit there, maybe not speak, but go enjoy, laugh, because listen, Nag spaces. I'm not here to promote the space, but if you haven't given it a try, sometime this week, just take a break, open Nag spaces, and just kick back and enjoy.
Could you about the? I mean. Enjoying being like losing up and then making friends. We all enjoy humor. One thing I've noticed about Nag is, because of his nature, he entertains all of us. We easily go to him, or we go to his space and enjoy his spaces and all that. But one thing you will notice is that he can make all the jokes in the world, but his jokes have a limit. Because we can make all the humor we can, but we shouldn't make expensive jokes. Jokes that can hurt someone, or jokes that is a no-go area. We can have all the fun. So imagine for the purpose of we are having fun, and Nag passes some comments that are inappropriate. I don't think his connection or his spaces will go this way. So we can have all the fun we want, can make all the jokes we want, but there should be a limit.
Yeah, let me share this story.
Great. Let's hear the story.
The last time Ellie and GHR called me and were like, "Oh, okay, Charlie, we want to set a virtual drama." I was like, "Okay, what be the rundown?" He gave me the story, and he gave one lady a story. Okay, he just summarized it for us. So let us go and create something to make people go crazy. You understand me? So we went in, and normally, if it's like I think we posted a topic there, and it was very, very interesting. I forget the topic. It was very, very interesting, and they were like, "Oh, we started acting on the spaces, and not knowing the listeners over there, the new people who joined, took it personal, but they don't know we've planned it at the backstage. You understand me? So one actor was in Isaiah, was inside, and he was like, "I like the way you guys are acting," but he gave them the clue that we are acting. But those who don't have any idea about acting, took it personal. You understand? They don't know. They didn't believe that man. So we gave the listeners a mic to share their view. They were like, "You, when I catch you, I will beat you. I will do this. I will do this." They were all over. I think we trend, and we were second. The hashtag was second. You understand me? Like second on the tier, on the trending list. You understand me? So like the people were so angry, and the way they were retweeting, like Ellie got scared and DHR got scared, and the lady, So we just told them it was a
drama.
We acted, we planned everything on the backstage, and they were like, wow. You understand?
So basically, this is an example of how some jokes can be very expensive.
Yes.
Especially if your audience do not know you're joking. And Chris, Nag's stories directly goes to what you're saying. Sometimes on Twitter Spaces and on social media, there are people who know you, who know who you are, who know what jokes you make. Expensive jokes are jokes that do not carry very well. I might have a relationship with Chris. There are things I might say to Chris when we meet up. We can joust around, we can be jesters, right? But in public spaces, one of the things to realize is not everybody knows you the way Nag would know you, or Mami would know you, or Chris would know you. So your jokes have to be monitored. You have to calm yourself down. The fact that we're here to have a good time, to kick back, to get easy, to lay back, doesn't mean you go all the way. And it's a very important advice. For those of you who were watching the live stream, I started applauding when Chris made the point, right? Because it's very important to know that jokes can be expensive. Yes, you're done with your hard day's work. You're going to kick it back on Twitter Space, on Clubhouse, on Facebook Live, whatever you're going to do. Be mindful. Not everybody would know you the way Chris would know you or Mommy would know you. So make sure your jokes are jokes that do not cross lines. I think it's completely great. It's advisable to completely cut out all the very edgy jokes from your act. Like you can be a great comedian, you can be a great entertainer without having to go out there completely left of center field. Just please make sure you're thinking through the things you're doing, you're interacting well, your relationships with people are great, and that way you're able to get great friends on social media. I think we're going to wrap up the conversation. For your last words, I'd like us to look at one question Christine brought in. Is that, how about people you know from a professional setting on social media? I think I'm going to make it as a two-part question, and then we'd laugh about it and then answer it and go away. Having your professional contacts on your social media, how does that make you feel? Is it the same as having your family members on your Facebook? Getting a friend request from your uncle, is it the same having your boss or your professional contacts as friends on social media? What are some of the ways to navigate it? Do you guys even do it at all? Chris, would you let your advisor follow you on Twitter?
No. Oh yes. Okay. So you can make it. That's what I'm saying. We all love humor. Your professor, your boss loves humor, and some jokes are very, I don't know, there are some very intelligent jokes. Yes. So you can make them on your social media and then everyone will laugh about it. Right. But if you are someone who goes all the way, then that is when you are scared of having connections with your professional space on your social media. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So it depends on who you are. Yeah. Mami, what do you think? What about the crossover? What do you think about the crossover from professional to personal?
Yeah, it would depend. I think that my bosses, I connect with my bosses on LinkedIn, but not on Facebook. I don't mind if they connect with me there, but if you are very loud and too jovial, I think that you should not. You never know where you end up saying things that are not supposed to be said, which may go a long way to affect you, or which will take you back to the office for you to go and answer questions you did not expect. And so depending on who you are and the platform you find yourself, LinkedIn is okay. And I think that with LinkedIn, I mean, recently I got a job opportunity with Mescline, and I got that connection through my boss. I connected with the person, and then the person sent me a message. In fact, I didn't get the job, but I was so proud. Their HR contacted me to share with me the available offer they had. So why not?
Wonderful.
I will connect with them.
That's wonderful. Nag, what do you think? Should we bring our profession?
No. For me, I've regretted following my boss on Facebook. You understand? At first, when I host live on Facebook, a lot of people join. So I get contact with her on Facebook. I can't do what I used to do. You understand me? Not that I use the Facebook for wrong thing. My boss doesn't understand my language, English or my P. You understand me? She doesn't understand everything. She doesn't understand. But on Facebook, I used to get a lot of ladies joining my live and those things. So they were huge. So we were friends, and I couldn't do it. So like, yeah, I have to limit myself the way I've lost so many viewers on Facebook. That's why I brought it on Twitter. So me being on Facebook, contact with my no, never.
So to answer Christine's question, Christine, I think it's a mixed bag, right? Some people would do it. Mame is like, depending on who you are, you can do it or not. Nag is like, no, not for me, because the cost that comes with it, right? If like Nag was saying, you might not be able to express certain things, right? Especially if your professional setting is completely different. That's why people create burner accounts and all that. It's completely up to you. But my thing is, it's a toss up, right? Getting your professional life to mix with your personal life, it really is a personal decision, and it's a mixed bag. It can be helpful to your career, or it can be detrimental to your career. But guys, this has been our episode on connecting, creating these connections, establishing connections, and growing them over a distance, right? Thanks to social media, the world has changed, right? Now you can connect with people from all across the world. You don't have to wake up on Sunday morning and go for that business brunch to meet your next investor. You can go on a Twitter space, express your ideas, and ask for help, and you might find your next investor. I have found a lot of people who have networked with me, started businesses with me, all on social media. And so there are ways to do this. And today we shared some of our, tricks or things that we feel are helpful. Chris has been wonderful. He's dropped a few dimes on us. Mami was also in the building just schooling us, and Nag just showed us all how to host Twitter spaces. It's been a Kasa podcast, and we've really enjoyed spending time with you. We really appreciate the comments you sent in, the likes, the retweets, and the views you gave, right? We really appreciate all that. It's been Kojo here, Nag, Chris, Mame, and from us here at the tribe, it's
Bye.
Bye.